Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian owned, not to control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the Vault, episode 711. Really thankful for all the listeners, for all the long time listeners. And really excited about this episode today. Common Law Trust Part 2. We've done an episode. You can search in the Vault archives for Common Law Trust. Just search the vault and then put in common law trust and you'll see it. This particular episode is focused on part two. I really wanting to come back and do another episode with the people as we've been quite a few inquiries and people enrolled in trustee training right now. And so for that reason, we just want to go ahead and put it out there for the record. Because there's many people that listen to the vault, they'll say, I have a trust. You know, the trustee reached out recently. Oh, I have this type of trust. And then when we go and we let them know the type of entities that are best, they're like, oh, wow, okay. So whoever set me up didn't put me in the best position. He put me in a position, but not the best position. This individual got set up. Why would you need a will when you still got a trust? But that's how you know they weren't set up properly. They were set up with public entities, which they were. They've been made aware of that now, and so they've had to make some decisions. So we're going to talk about today on this episode common law trust. This is a hot topic. It's been a hot topic for obviously for years. When it comes down to it, a lot of people they've reached out to the vault and said, "Hey, I want to find out about this trust, that trust," but they don't know what trust, and so we can talk about it. So appreciate everybody tuning in live, listening to replay. Feel free to reach out Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, you can feel free to reach out Christian at trustchristian.com if it's something that you have an interest in or want to move forward with trustee training. So let's talk about it. So these common law trust entities, people say, "Oh, how Christian? How does it work?" You know, the lawyer didn't set me up in the common law trust. The public lawyer didn't set me up in the common law trust. Okay. Well, what is a common law trust? Common law trusts are usually jurisdiction based in the common law jurisdiction. Sort of like if you were in a French civic Napoleonic jurisdiction, a trust would be catered towards that. But what you see is you see a entity that traditionally can go into multiple jurisdictions, and multiple jurisdictions are ex-crown rule jurisdictions. So we were on a line with a trustee recently, and they're from a country in Africa. And by them being from a country in Africa, they actually, one of the countries is actually states that we were asking them about the law because they want to do business internationally. So we were asking them about the law that's in the country and found out that the law is ex-British Crown Rule country. Now it does have a mixture of civic, French law, but as you can see, Crown Rule was there as well. So they're very familiar with English law. They're familiar with, some people will call it chancellery. You know, you got one mentor says, "Oh man, Trust Christian, you guys, do you guys know the international jurisdictions? Are you familiar with all the jurisdictions?" It's like, mentor, you're asking a lot of students right now that are clearly ignorant and don't know, and that's why we're sitting in this class to actually know. So how are we just gonna randomly come up with the answer? A mentor would always ask a lot of questions that he knew we didn't know. He still would ask it. Trust Christian didn't give too much cares about it, but most people would sit there dumbfounded, didn't want to reply. And you should take a chance replying. So what are there are multiple jurisdictions, but they always bring up jurisdictions that most people don't know about, like maritime jurisdiction. So you talk about the law of the sea, so it's not a specific country. When you talk about common law is traditionally going to be more like the law of the land. When you hear that even in the Constitution, when you hear that traditionally in general, you hear, oh, well, this is the law of the land. Well, what is the law of the land? The law of the land traditionally, in 2/3 of the world at one point, 2/3 now, was crown rule. So a lot of the countries you can travel to with a common law trust, if they're crown rule, then you have that opportunity. Now, a lot of people won't share that with you because they won't really know what is the jurisdiction or what is the qualifier for it to be an international or private trust. But in all actuality, ladies and gentlemen, that's where you're getting along the lines of. Why? Because it can go into those jurisdictions and travel and do things fairly easy. Now, this isn't legal advice or financial advice, but you can do your homework. And that's what our podcast has always been. It's been an information source for individuals that are into estate planning, wealth management, asset protection, things of that nature. So we're going to continue when we talk about this whole, oh, I have a common law trust, or oh, I have a trust, but I don't know if it's common law. Okay, well, common law trust, once again, defined per, looking up definitions, you can see that it's an ex-crown rule jurisdiction-based asset entity, excuse us. And so that means that it can travel in international jurisdictions. But how many people have those? How many people can state that they have those? They don't. They're not going to be able to state that. Why? Because they don't know that they have it. They don't have it. Most of the public individuals have been set up with public entities, state-based entities. Same trustee we were talking to recently about the African country and international country, because they are African, they look at Americans and say, why don't you use the legal protection such as a trust? Why don't you guys put things in place when you get married? Because people want to say they get married for love, and they don't think when they involve the state that it turns into a business contract. Just like it would turn into a business contract if they apply for a LLC. Just like it would turn into a business contract if they had a state-based trust. If they had a state-based trust, they're gonna go to the state and they're gonna apply. Just like you apply for a marriage license, you apply for the trust to actually be a trust, because you're applying for the trust to be acknowledged by the state as a state trust. Whereas private trusts are different. And when we say they're different, you can look at the common law entities. Common law is not under a state. It's under, you almost wonder what law is it under, but it's governed by the common law. That's why it's called that. So by it being called a common law trust and it being governed by common law, then you see that there are many jurisdictions that it can go on and operate, as opposed to a state-based entity that when it goes into other states is called a foreign entity. See the difference? So once again, ladies and gentlemen, wanted to come out, put this information out, have a conversation about it, talk about it, and go from there. Why? Because there's so many that they really don't have the right entities. They've been set up the wrong way. There's a lot of misinformation, disinformation over the internet about trust and things of that nature. And we're here to clear the air on those things, because there's just so much misinformation. Oh man, trust Christian, common law trust. Okay, so once again, if you're gonna go into trust, why wouldn't you go into an international and a private entity? If it's a state trust and they can traditionally just, it's gonna have to deal with state stuff. Common law is dealing with who? That's the question y'all have to ask yourself, and that's how you know it's private, and that's how you're able to know. Okay, well, yeah, I gotta look into this. Why? Because if it's not state based and it says it's common law and it can operate in multiple foreign jurisdictions, then we will want to have a conversation about how to hold property internationally. But people think, oh yeah, well, I'm a citizen. There's only one way to do it. It's not one way to do it. It's not one way to do it. You can operate internationally with different types of trust. But how are you going to do that if you don't have the right entity in the first place? Well, people learn how to operate with the right entities. You learn how to do that. And you learn how to do that by connecting with the right people. Some people say, oh, it's that simple. That's how we did it. You learn from having a mentor. You learn from trustee training. You learn from uh, uh, being around other wealthy people. We were sitting around one of our mentors. We have quite a few mentors, but there are some mentors that are very redundant on a lot of information. And this particular mentor, a really good mentor, definitely have done episodes with them. And ladies and gentlemen, when it comes down to operating in trusteeship, you don't want to get into a position where you're just recalling the information. Oh, I heard about this trust. I know about that stuff. How do you know about it but you're not doing it? You're doing it backwards. It's showing your first generation wealth status. Why? Because you don't know anything. You're operating off limited knowledge. Right. But when you sit here saying, oh yeah, I know about this, but you're not doing it, then you really don't. You're not living it as a trustee. How do you get around that? You got to do it. You got to be trained in this information. Trustees to be like, well, what does that look like? You're going to a weekly learning of the information. You're going to a weekly doing of the information. You're doing something for trusteeship every week. People turn trusteeship into a part-time job. People turn, what is that? Being protecting their family estate or looking into their family estate as a part-time job. That's all it is. Oh man, I'll get to that. It's part-time, but they focusing on their full-time, bringing in money, but they're not focused on protecting it. That's not first gen. That's not second and third gen or any real true wealth management perspective. That's first generation status. Oh man, man, I'm gonna just keep making money, man. I'm making over $5,000 a month. Might as well just yeah. People don't even want to hear that. They don't want to hear 5 times 12 is 60. If you once you get above poverty, why wouldn't you be protecting the asset? Once you get above the poverty line, why wouldn't you be protecting the asset? And then they don't even know what the greatest asset is. They don't know if the money is the greatest asset. Oh man, because we ask them all the time, how do you insure the money? We ask trustees that. How do you insure your money? But you don't even know what the money is because you ain't got yourself insured. The family estate don't got you insured. And if it is, then we know you're in the right position, moving in the right direction. Why? Because asset protection comes from asset separation. We have to know who's the asset in the situation. And traditionally, the greatest asset is the individual, quote unquote, or the investment, quote unquote, that's producing the greatest amount of income for the family estate at that moment. So why wouldn't we have insurance on the money? Why wouldn't we have insurance on the asset? Now, a lot of people may say, "Oh, I don't know how to utilize the insurance as a trustee in private trusteeship." That's fair, but no, no, no. There's still massive opportunity when it comes to making sure the trustees are in the right position and learning it the correct way. One of the mentors, this is what he say, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people they get started, and they just want to be taught. They do, and people don't really know. Trust Christians being trained. We haven't just been taught. See, public school teaches you something, and when we say teaching versus training or taught versus training, we're talking about you recalling information, recalling something but not knowing it yourself. It's recalling. It's like one of the mentors the other day. We had to get on him and get into a conversation with him because he wants to sit here and tell us, "Oh, if you see somebody ride a bike, then you know someone could you know how to ride a bike," and that's not true. You don't know how to ride a bike because you see someone else ride a bike. You learn how to ride a bike by getting on a bike and riding a bike. And whether people know it or not, you don't need to see somebody else to ride a bike to know how to ride a bike. That's one of the misnomers. We're going to go ahead and put it out in the universe because there's so much bad information out there. When people want to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, you don't know, you can't ride a bike without seeing somebody else ride a bike," you don't know what you're talking about. How you going to sit here and say somebody can't do that? First of all, they have an example in the world. Sorry you didn't know about the study yet, but there is an example. They actually is called the backward bicycle example. "Oh no, Trust Christian, I didn't know about the backward bicycle example." The backward bicycle example is a real example. You never seen anybody ride a bike backwards, but it can be done. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. Definitely, and that's you can Google it. You can look up it's on the internet. Backward bicycle and see people trying to do it, and most people don't even want to know. Most of the people that can't do it are adults. They're not able to do it. Why? Because their mind is so trained. Because they think in a way that we just say, "Oh yeah, you don't know how to ride a bike unless you see somebody ride a bike," and that's not true. But it may be true in your universe, but it's not true in the universe. So it's the same thing in trusteeship. You gotta learn it by doing it. You gotta be in the trenches. We actually had a board meeting yesterday, and we were walking into that meeting, and we thought, You got to make this a level playing field. How are you going to get people to sit at the table and do what you need them to do? And you're looking at this in a certain way. So, what is the way that you want to look at this? With ease. And we said, well, just look at this as a trustee meeting. And when you look at it as a trustee meeting, you know, everybody's sitting in a room, sitting there in confidentiality. Everybody's sitting in a room for trusteeship, for the mission. Everybody's sitting in that room with, they're going to have a level of accountability. Everybody's sitting in that room with a role, responsibility, and duty. That's how they sit in the room. They bring a value to the table. Everybody sitting in the room may have come from you going out and meeting people directly and bringing them into the trustee fold. Because you're supposed to be a leader. You're the trustee. You're the senior trustee of the family estate. You're the first generationer. So you gotta be a leader. And when you're in these meetings sometimes, when you have people that are more successful than you, because that was the case for Trust Christian yesterday, there was a group of people that are very successful in their own right. Most people would consider them successful. Some of them are millionaires, some of them are not. But at the end of the day, you gotta handle the meeting. You gotta run the meeting. How you gonna run the meeting? Oh, Trust Christian, is there a formal way to run the meeting? I need to know. I haven't ran a meeting, so I don't know the formal way to run a meeting. I didn't conduct a meeting because I don't know how to put systems, processes, and procedures in place. Because I'm not good at that. Listen, it's so funny. We're gonna go ahead and share this thought process with you because a lot of people don't hear this. When you come from public school, when you come from public school, when you come from a thought process that says you learn this information, quote unquote, you're taught this information, and then you recall it for the test. How you gonna succeed in environments that don't just teach you through studying? You gotta actually do something. You gotta actually do something. A lot of mentors, they'll say, oh yeah, people don't really want to learn trusteeship by doing it. But in all actuality, that's the way you gotta take care of it. You just gotta go in and be a trustee. We had one trustee recently. And a lot of trustees, people don't hear this one. It's so funny when you have to become a business person. Because, oh, I want to be in trusteeship. I got children. I want to protect generational wealth. So you want to protect your children and generational wealth, but you got to go take action as a what? Leader. Because you're the first generation wealther of your family estate. So you're going to do some work. You're going to do something. Something's going to have to be done. Trustees like, oh, I got to go into the bank and take care of this and do that. Yeah, and they did. And the bank called them back the next day. Hey, no, everything's well. Everything's well. Yep, everything's well. Great. But the trustee, oh man, this was such a this is a new situation for me. It was a whole new experience. I was almost worried. They used the word worried. I was worried. Right. For what? But people don't want to hear this though on the outside, which is these people are taking action, which means they're outside their comfort zone. And by you being out your comfort zone, you're growing. When you're taking action for a new thing, you're outside your comfort zone. Because what you previously did, you didn't do. You didn't do the things you're doing now, excuse. So that's the case. Are you taking action for the family estate and outside your comfort zone? Trustee goes in, oh yeah, I was sitting there. They was almost sweaty palms. Oh man, they took it to the manager, and the manager came and talked to me, and then they said they had to go through legal, and next thing you know, they went through legal, and they called me back the next day. Right. That's how you get the job done. That's how it gets done. By you going and standing on your word. Having integrity and trusteeship. And in turn, it works out in your favor. But these are the things that come from people doing that. Taking a business approach. I gotta take a business approach to my life. I gotta go and take action on things I never did. I gotta be the leader. I gotta put together a team. Exactly. What do you think Trust Christian did at the vault? You think we just sat around once we got the information, or we went to those meetings that we tell trustees to get you got to get out and go to? You got to go out to uh, meetings with lawyers so you can go meet these attorneys. Just like when the trustees ask, they say, "Oh yeah, I want to acquire property internationally." Well, if you want to acquire property internationally, don't you think you should go to the country that you're trying to acquire the properties and talk to lawyers, talk to local realtors, talk to find out how they assess taxes on property? Do you know that? Have you talked to accountants in that country so you can say, okay, we need y'all to reconcile the books here so we can reconcile the books somewhere else? But how many have done that? Oh, they're just traveling internationally, going on vacations as they call them. It's not a family business trip. It's not a family trust expense. It's a personal expense. Dang near putting it on a personal credit card. But most don't really know what they're doing because they don't know what a person is, a legal person is. So how are you going to operate in commerce properly? Oh, I want a financial education. I want a financial education. Are you going to rub shoulders with other successful entrepreneurs, or are you hanging around the family members and friends that don't have a business and are happy to be off for the weekend? Ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about generational wealth, there's definitely going to be no days off for the second and third generation. The family estate is going to run in perpetuity, perpetually. That means that you're going to set up a machine, you're going to set up a system, you're going to set up that to be a financial source for second and third generations' dreams. Now, y'all think about that. Are you really doing that? Or are you just in trust? Or you just have a trust? Are you truly setting up a wealth generation for the second and third generation? People say, oh no, there's no way you can sell me to think like that. Clearly, J.D. Rockefeller did. Clearly, Amshire Rothschild did. They were thinking about their children. They were thinking about their grandchildren. They weren't thinking just about, oh, I have a trust. Oh, I'm in a trust. Oh, I'm protecting my business. Of course, they utilized them for business practices so people didn't know that they were acquiring assets. But hey, let common knowledge be common knowledge, like most people think it's common sense, which is not. And in turn, people don't even know they're operating out of a trust. The social security number is supposed to be a trust, but are they signing it as a trustee or are they signing it as a beneficiary? That's the difference between knowing the difference between a common law trust and what the government's giving you. The government clearly gave you a public trust, and you're operating out of that. But are you still? Did you still build your team, or are you filing your taxes at TurboTax? Or did you go out and say, I need to find a professional? How many of y'all supposedly got property, but you don't have a lawyer friend that can help you make sure that you're compliant when it comes to real estate laws locally? Do you have a realtor that knows the laws for the real estate in that state? Do you know a lawyer that knows the laws for the real estate in that state? Do you actually know a lawyer? You can call. Hey, wanted to chat with you real quick. We making sure everything's buttoned up on our end as far as the trust owner and making sure it owns the property, but we just want to make sure. How many of y'all know the lawyers if y'all married? How many of y'all know lawyers? Y'all want to sit here and talk about, oh, Trust Christian, I want to be a trusteeship, but I didn't go network with lawyers this week. Right, but you're married. And you know what you're going through. You know that. Did you put the trust in place? Yo, I got the trust in place and I got real estate. But did you go and actually go out and start networking with real estate attorneys after you in trusteeship? Or you got caught slipping? Or the other person gonna catch you slipping because you didn't title it over right, or you didn't title it over yet? because hey, man, I ain't trying to, whatever the reasoning is. Some reach out, oh man, Trust Christian, I want to get in contact with the accountant for the trust, the accountant for the trust, the accountant for the trust. I'm trying to get in contact with an accountant that can do the taxes for the trust. Yeah, it's not that hard, y'all. Trust Christian has brought people on. We actually did an interview recently with a CPA, and we're gonna bring them on. But they're not a bookkeeper. They're not a tax preparer. They're a CPA. So many different titles for different professionals. That's why you're out meeting these people. People say, where do I meet these people at? We share the meetings. You gotta go to the trust, the high net worth investor meetings. You gotta go to meetings where you see lawyers. Why not go to the local chamber of commerce? You're gonna meet lawyers that are local to the jurisdiction that you're quote unquote owning the property in. Did you go meet other lawyers at the local chamber? Did you call around some of the best lawyers for real estate in the area? And we're gonna go ahead and bust the lawyers down real quick. So, hey, attorneys, hey, you gotta take this one right here. This is what it is. So we're gonna sit here and tell most of the common people. Most of the common people, they'll be like, oh yeah, this lawyer, it says PA. Well, we're gonna go what a PA is, okay? Because so many people see PA, okay, and it's funny. PA at the end of a lawyer's name. So PA at the end of the lawyer name still standing for personal association. We're gonna put PC because that's probably the one that we really was thinking and you know that was the case. They usually put PC. Even still, PC they would professional corporation. Come on, y'all letting these lawyers operate out here like this on y'all? Or yeah, or a lawyer, he's a PC or a PA. He's a personal injury attorney. He or she's a personal injury attorney. Oh, they out here operating as a personal injury attorney, but they can help you out with all your business needs. No, they can't. We're gonna go ahead and say it. People going to the wrong people for the wrong thing sometimes. But they want to say, oh yeah, I got in a lawyer. Right, but your lawyer is a personal injury attorney. Your lawyer's good at filing lawsuits. They're not good at what we talking about. Everybody's not good at the same thing. So that's the difference. And these are the things that you do and you vet them out in trusteeship. You go to foundation galas. All the trustees that are in foundations. Oh, I'm in a foundation, Trust Christian. You don't know, but I gotta meet other. Y'all don't even know. For all y'all got foundations, if y'all got jobs, you could have been start working because you can get money from other foundations. So how are you going to sit here when we say start working? We talking about for somebody else's family estate and working for your family estate full time, even at a foundation. Even at a foundation, ladies and gentlemen, y'all could have got the 5% from other foundations if you just went out and network with those other foundations and find out what the liability is and do a cause that they actually doing and network with people you like. But how many people are hanging around people that are busted, as they call it? They're busted. Bottom line. Oh, I'm gonna get this knowledge, Trust Christian, just by searching the internet and continue my studies. Sure. It's private information. It's private trusteeship. It's not on the internet for everybody. Is it secret societies guarding the information? Definitely. Definitely. Why would it not be? So once again, you talk about common law trust, part two. We're talking about common law. We just went deep. We're not just going to give surface level conversation because so many are on the internet getting that surface level conversation. Then they get sold a trust and they just like, oh, I was sold a trust. Or they don't even know. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace and joy.